Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us this afternoon for the University of Regina's 2024 Alumni Effect Virtual Speakers Series. I am Dr. Christie Schultz, Dean of the Center for Continuing Education here at the University of Regina, and I also serve as an associate professor in the Faculty of Education here as well. Before I introduce our speaker, today I'd like to acknowledge that the University of Regina is situated on the territories of the Nehiyawak, the Anishinaabeg, the Dakota, Lakota, Nakota, and the homeland of the Métis Chief Nation. The University of Regina is on Treaty 4 territory lands with a presence in Treaty 6. The University of Regina's Alumni Engagement Department is pleased to be able to offer the Alumni Effect Speaker Series virtually. This is my first time hosting a lecture in this series, and I hope that your time with us today inspires you to return for future sessions. I've had a few moments to chat with Jake before getting started, and I think that you'll enjoy our conversation today. I would like to point out that these sessions are being recorded and will be posted on the U of R alumni website so that you can watch the presentations again or share them with your friends and family, and of course, your fellow alumni. You'll see the link to the alumni website in the chat if you'd like to access the video later. And now, it is my great pleasure to introduce our first speaker of the 2024 Alumni Effect Virtual Speaker Series, Jake Sinclair. Jake, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having
Yeah, it's wonderful for you to be here. Jake is from George Gordon First Nation and is the owner and operator of Anytime Fitness gym facilities here in Regina. Jake is a strong believer in lifelong learnings and holds several certifications from the U of R Center for Continuing Education, including certificates in administration, a diploma of administration, a business analysis certificate, and a professional leadership certificate. And that's not all. Jake has continued to learn, even as recently as last night. Today, Jake will discuss his career path as an Indigenous entrepreneur and lifelong learner, enjoying the opportunity to learn from the Center for Continuing Education. Following his presentation, we'll have about 15 minutes or so for a question and answer session. And we invite you to submit questions for Jake in the chat, and I'll read them to him following our discussion. You're welcome to leave your cameras on for the duration of the event, but please note that your microphone will remain muted until the end of the presentation. And then if you'd like to ask a question live at the end of the presentation, please use the raise hand function at the bottom of your screen. And now I will turn the floor over to Jake Sinclair. Jake, over to you, and I look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you very much for having me today. I truly appreciate it and being able to talk a little bit about the University of Regina and a lot of the programs and the certifications that I've obtained and how it helped advance me throughout my career thus far, and looking forward to today's discussion.
Wonderful. Well, Jake, as I said, we're excited to have you join us. So my first question is, can you share a little bit more about your journey from George Gordon First Nation to becoming the owner-operator of Anytime Fitness gym facilities in Regina?
Yeah. So I grew up in George Gordon First Nation. I've been situated in there since the early 90s and graduated and began my journey. My first stint was not academics or a business background whatsoever, but a construction worker. And I realized pretty quickly that these hands were not made for holding tools. They're office hands, and so they're I wasn't cut out for the cold, harsh winters of Saskatchewan as well as the warmth. And so I did pursue I had a little bit of guidance through my late father, and he had indicated you could still work in the field that you're working in, but maybe you can work in an administrative position once you're kind of situated and have that experience. And so I decided to pursue an education in business, and that's kind of how my career kind of took off from there. I spent 7 years with the government of Saskatchewan. I've always had I've had many mentors in my life, and I've always been able to see a little bit of insights into their world. And I always wanted to be able to be one of those people who provide opportunities for their friends and family as well. And that's kind of what I thought entrepreneurship might be for me. And so at the age of 21, I had my first stint of entrepreneurship. I went into a joint venture. From there, I also owned a percentage of a golf course. I had lots of failures along the way. But I always had that drive on being able to create something or build on something and trying to give that back to the communities of which I've served in. And being able to employ other people on from communities of which I'm from is always something that I've always tried to do along my career trajectory. And it's led me to being the owner and operator of Anytime Fitness Regina gyms in Regina. And it's been definitely a journey throughout the process of having the pandemic and the joys of being an entrepreneur in general, on the ups and downs, and having just a few. We had a flood. We had somebody drive a building or their vehicle into our building. And so there's been definitely some challenges, but at the same time too, there's been a lot of rewards as well. And from an employability perspective, that's rewarding, but at the same time too, it's being able to see other people who were strangers become friends now. And so that's also another reward in itself. Since then, my career kind of pivoted a little bit, the pandemic. And so during the pandemic, we had to I had to work a lot by myself, and our team. But since then, I've had a child, and she helped me see things from a different perspective. And so I worked myself out of a job at my own facilities, and I've being able to hire great managers and have them take the company to the next level. And with that, my career kind of opened up into different routes. And so since then, I've had other positions in Indigenous economic development. And currently right now, I am the CEO of Cowsas Ventures as well. And so a lot of the certifications that I've obtained through the University of Regina, they helped on different facets of my career thus far. And it's pretty exciting to share some of that with you today.
Yeah, thanks, Jake. It's interesting to me how you're seeing the connections between your journey in education and your journey alongside all of the people in your life and how important that is. So thank you for sharing that. You've hinted at some of the challenges that you've encountered along the way. I'm curious to know a little bit more about what inspired you to transition from a government role using office hands to entrepreneurship. What challenges did you face during this transition?
Well, the most important one, I think, what holds a lot of people from being an entrepreneur or leaving a secure work is that that non-commitment of income that is going to be readily available for you. And so that was one challenge. And so having my living below my means was going to be necessary, and having my family along for the ride, and let them know that times are going to be tough, and in certain times, and hopefully one day it does pay off. But working for government, it was rewarding, and at the same time too is also frustrating for myself. I'm very impatient when it comes to a lot of things, and working for government does take a lot of patience. And you could have a really great team around you, but at the same time, the workload itself has to be fulfilling for you. And entrepreneurship really filled my cup in that sense, is that I could set how fast we wanted to move, how slow we wanted to move. And as well as surrounding yourself and building a really good team, and the nuances and the challenges and the rewards that come with building a really good team. And so transitioning from government work into to an entrepreneur is definitely one that I don't regret. And I don't think that that type of work is cut out for certain individuals like myself, as we just really like to get things done, and that's and sometimes the culture of working in government is a little bit different than being an entrepreneur, and having the ups and downs of the everyday life of an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I love what you say about how you discovered that being an entrepreneur and moving in that direction was filling your cup. that's something that there's meaning that became part of how you were thinking about your entrepreneurship work. I have another question for you. So I'm curious, and so full disclosure for those of you who may have joined us a little bit later, I am the Dean of the Center for Continuing Education here at the U of R. But I am curious to know about how your continuing education courses contributed to your success as an entrepreneur.
Um, yeah, so the one thing, so I think I've taken 5 programs with the Center of Continuing Education. The difference between the Center of Continuing Education and formal education, not formal education, I shouldn't say, but education over at the University of Regina for a degree or a diploma of some sort, is that I felt like there was a lot of skills that were missed in being in classroom setting as opposed to at the Center of Continuing Education, and those soft skills were much needed. Really hard hit seminars that were really valuable in my career, and so applicable into my role as CEO. I believe the conflict and negotiation course definitely helped me and to get me where I am right now, and not only to be able to negotiate some of the things that we have going, but also have an understanding to try to figure out on what are win-win solutions. We just didn't expose to that in the undergrad programs or the graduate programs at the University of Regina. So that one was really good. The leadership and the management certificate program. So I've taken the professional management certificate program and the professional leadership certificate program, as well as the advanced leadership certificate program. That advanced leadership and that professional leadership really helped me as an entrepreneur on trying to figure out, when do I manage, when do I lead? And it was very beneficial during the time of the pandemic of when you really don't have a whole lot of management at your disposal because of not sharing if funds are going to be available, not sharing what the restrictions are going to have you in there, and trying to work within this box. But at the same time too, is having that, having that team behind you is definitely crucial. And without that professional management or leadership certificate, and having those soft skills on being able to see what individuals that are amongst the team to make sure that the team fulfills its objectives, is that was very crucial. And so I think that was very beneficial in my career. And I think as far as a lot of the programs have gone, I think the Center of Continuing Education provided those crucial skills and being able to help me to get where I am today.
Yeah, thanks for that reflection, Jake. It's so interesting because it reminds me in many ways of what we've heard when we've surveyed employers from across Saskatchewan as well, that some of the skills that they're hoping to develop in current employees are more of the soft skills, the human skills. Um, and it's interesting to me because it's, of course, that's something that one has the opportunity to learn across a lifespan and a career span, not just during a degree or other program, but it really resonates with me because that's what we've heard from so many employers and of course students themselves. So thank you for that. Looking looking to continuing education as it supports economic development, I'm interested in your perspective on what role you think continuing education might play in supporting economic development within Indigenous communities.
I think it plays a huge role, and not only from an employee perspective, but also those who sit on the boards and those who sit at the tables within Indigenous economic development, is that a lot of the time when we're getting really busy in our lives, we really don't have the time to go and do 4-month semesters here and there, and being able to support continuing education. So those micro bursts of 2-day, 3-day seminars, and then followed by the next in-depth topic, those go a long way on being able to engage our employees, but as well as our leadership, and being able to pass along that education, because I truly believe that education is the path forward for Indigenous economic development. And I think that the Center of Continuing Education is fulfilling a much needed gap there. And I'm just a big advocate for it. all around.
Yeah, that scheduling and that time commitment piece are a big deal for so many people. And so yeah, so thanks for highlighting that. Yeah, I think there is something special to like there's obviously some special things from degrees and sort of longer term sustained programming, but alongside that, so another both and the opportunities because of the scheduling and the timing and the kinds of content um, are key for lots of folks. So, thinking about your advice for other Indigenous individuals and perhaps individuals from everywhere, I'm curious about advice you'd give to folks who are interested in starting their own business, and perhaps specifically Indigenous individuals. Curious about your thoughts on that.
Yeah, anybody who has an appetite for it, I think, even if you have, this is my dog, he's going to try to come make an introduction. So Bo is right beside me, my golden retriever. He likes all the attention. He might jump up on my shoulder here in the very near future. But the advice that I would go is if you are interested in it, definitely know what you're getting into yourself into. Making sure that you're well versed on the time commitments and the commitments that you're going to be needing as an entrepreneur. Do you have the skill sets? Are you in the right business for you as an entrepreneur? And there's a lot of really good businesses that are out there, but they just don't jive with the skill sets that you could give as the go-to person as being an entrepreneur. And then as well as just understanding the business itself and trying to figure out, you're never going to go in the business with a full set of lenses on seeing what exactly you're getting yourself into, but making sure that you're having some type of mechanisms put in place that will definitely defend off of any shortcomings that you had and errors in your business planning. Because I wrote the business plans for a few businesses, and I've noticed on day one that nothing ever goes to plan. None of your projections are even in the ballpark, and you have a lot of different things that you're kind of not really expecting, and so just for the gym for an example is rent in Regina for a commercial building of that magnitude is quite expensive, and my very first encounter is trying to come up with the rent money and first and last months. And so it was $50,000 I did not expect that I had to try to come up with within a short time frame. And so that was one of the lessons learned that I always try to tell people is you got to think about what is going to be the immediate impact. And it's not just about some of the expenses, and also just overestimating on what are your costs going to be up front. And then as well as it's really applying yourself, and not just in the sense of when does it look like you're actually learning or you're trying to learn about your business, but work harder when nobody else is looking and watching. And so really diving into different areas and different things that you might not expect. And so with the help of the Center of Continuing Education, I've taken classes specifically for different nuances of being a leader. And I've geared some of the my electives just to try to have any gaps and fill any gaps that I felt that I had within my toolbox. And then as well as extra readings. And so there's been tons of times when it comes to management of people, management of resources, just extra readings. And that's not just Google searches, that's long in-depth readings on books, that's different readings on different articles that were printed. And then as well as any other kind of form of learning that you could definitely have on YouTube or online or else audiobooks. And then as well as people, you just having the one thing that I really liked about the Center of Continuing Education and the University of Regina as a whole is that the network that you gain there is also very invaluable and are very valuable. It's the people that I can lean on for support for some of the lessons learned is definitely saved me from many hard lessons that I would have learned without their support. So just being able to have that network of strong people behind you and being able to support you as your cheerleader goes a long way.
Yeah, that's That's a really lovely reflection, thinking about that, the role of learning, whether it's about first and last month's rent in a giant facility, or about learning from colleagues and connections that you meet through your more formal learning and programs. There's a really lovely thread there about learning across all of the different experiences that you've had, that really sort of comes through for me as you reflect on the advice you'd give to other individuals looking to start a business. Um, this is the time where we get to see if there are questions from the audience, Jake, and I'm just going to open up my chat window so that I can see that. And I'd like to invite participants who are here with us today to either raise their hand or to put their questions in the chat.
I see some people that are online that I work with right now, that I have worked with, and people that I went to class with. And so it's quite exciting to see that we have such a good network with alumni and people that are involved with the University of Regina.
Yeah, that's wonderful. We'll just have to see if one of them has a question. Oh, look at that. We've got so you wait just long enough. This is the old teacher trick, is either just be silent to make it awkward, or wait long enough and there may be a question. So thank you, Mark, for the question in the chat. Jake, Mark asks, have you had a mentor throughout your career? And if so, how have they helped you?
I'm having several mentors, and so there's some people out there that they really don't know that they're my mentors, and there's been people out there that I haven't met that are my mentors, and then there's been people that have been, I guess, hands-on. And so first and foremost is my parents. Being able to be that guiding support and that foundation for which I'm being able to just go forward. Without their support is definitely impossible. I wouldn't be here. Well, biologically and so cycle. But anyways, so they're my support. Like I said earlier, as my father passed away in 2011, and I still think about some of the lessons that he has given me throughout this time period, and I still apply some of those lessons today. And so that's definitely has been one of my biggest mentors thus far. I have old University of Regina professors that continue to we go have a bite occasionally and just bounce ideas off of them, and they're really good supports and really good mentors. Another entrepreneur, Indigenous entrepreneur, I've seen him growing up, and I've seen how he was able to employ 3 of his brothers, and so I think I look at him as being that type of support too. On at the end of the day, sometimes some businesses, you get into it for various reasons, and he wanted to one, provide a service, 2, employ his friends and his family, and 3, have fun while doing it. And so I look to him sometimes on some of that guidance as well. And then throughout the process too, on different aspects of my life, on different areas that I'm in, whether it be on with my working hat with Cows's Ventures on renewables, and having mentors in that area, land development and having mentors in that area. And then for my personal self on being able to try to live a healthy life, and having mentors that have that health background. And what does health look like for you? It might look different from somebody else. And so having whether it's regarding a healthy family, a healthy unit. I look at my dog as, if my dog is skinny, then that means I'm doing something right, because that means I'm out there walking him, and he's building muscle. He's not just eating food all day and getting lazy. And so making sure that my household is healthy, and as my family relationships are very well off as well. And so my mentors are very vast. And like I said, there's lots of them that they don't know they're my mentor. And there's somebody online right now, and we had a discussion about this person, but I looked at this person as well as being a mentor, on being able to shape on some of the things that I do in my personal life as well, that are outside of the business life. And so They don't necessarily know it, but I'm definitely look up to a lot of these people. And even though I know they're just a phone call away, I'll give them a phone call and just kind of pick their brain and always being available.
Yeah, that's it's so interesting to think about that sometimes you don't even know that you're being a mentor. And I think that that's in some ways a call to us to remember to,
Oh,
oh, there's Bo. Hi, Bo. Sorry, I'm distracted. I hoped I'd get to meet Bo today.
yeah.
Aw. And sometimes our animal companions are also our greatest mentors. But our certainly, I think it's interesting to recognize, formal mentorship as well as that informal mentorship, and think about the ways that we're impacting others too, or impacting our friends like Bo. There's another question in the chat that I'll ask. Uh, this is from Michaela. Michaela asks, what trends or skills do you think are essential for professionals to focus on in the coming years?
We have a growing, and everything is always changing and always growing. Um, Depends on what your background is and what you're trying to achieve, but I think those soft skills are definitely needed in the years to come. And I think sales, being able to sell things is definitely a skill that won't go out of style anytime soon. Negotiation is going to be another skill, especially in the work that I do. Negotiation is definitely needed. So sales and negotiation, those are some skills that I think that are going to be in demand for years to come. And with AI and automation and forever a growing climate that we're in, and having survived through the pandemic and um, financial crisis of various magnitudes, I think that those skills are still going to be in demand.
Yeah. Thanks, Jake. I'm curious to know, this is going back a little bit in our conversation to the response you had about your mentors and thinking about folks who are active in their life as well. So aside from, your work and your professional endeavors, I'm curious to know how you like to maintain a healthy and active lifestyle. And perhaps even how does that influence your work at Anytime Fitness?
So I start off my day by walking this guy. Usually not every day, I shouldn't say that. I also have a 3-year-old daughter, so I also when time permits, we in the morning times I'll try to walk this guy, and so that's kind of my go-to thing to do, and have a good audiobook on cue in my ears, and so that's my relaxation time, and then with or without my daughter. We try to do it together, and we'll go for a walk together. And so those kind of my pillars. And yeah, it depends on the time. So I've done various marathons and competitions and whatnot. But for myself right now, at this point in my life, I'm going to be running the full marathon at the QCM this year. And so that's something that I've been training for. And so my running partner is right beside me here. And then at the gym, what I usually like to do is get some one-on-one time with the trainers. We have 17 staff, and so it's a large number of them are personal trainers. And to get one-on-one time, as I booked personal sessions with them, and so it's a dual process. Is that I could get one-on-one time with them, get to hear what's going on in their lives, and have that rapport at the same time, and build a team. And at the same time too, is I get a good workout in, and it sometimes is really rewarding. Last Friday, one of the trainers had really punished me in the sense that I was really sore all weekend. So I wasn't able to accomplish much. And so going to the rider game and sitting down and standing up in the seats and walking down those stairs, I was just still cursing her name a little bit. So that's what's been keeping me active thus far. That's kind of my life on being able to not only a healthy body, but also healthy mind with the audiobooks, and then as well as the nutrition that comes with that.
Yeah, well, that sounds like really nice balance. Even if some days the next day doesn't or perhaps it's not that it doesn't feel good, but you're reminded of the work that you did the day before. Um, we've got another question that's come in the chat. This one's from Emily. Emily asks, you mentioned audiobooks while on your walks. Do you have any particular books or other forms of media that inspire you in your business or personal life?
It all depends on what's going on in my life at that moment. So I use Libby as a free platform with Regina Public Libraries. They've been pretty
Yeah.
good. As well as I have an Apple product, so a lot of the Apple products, the books that are available. Hoopla is another free one that I like to use as well. So sometimes I'll pick an audiobook, but it's not available for 12 weeks. And so it might not be top of my mind. I want to do it right now. And then by the time that 12 weeks comes, is that I might have overcame what I was trying to seek at that book. But my backgrounds that I like to listen to that I really get into is usually like business, personal development, a lot of the weaknesses that I have in my arsenal at that time that I'm trying to improve upon, or even reminders. And then as well as I like history. So I like as my favorite author is Robert Greene. And if his books are quite large, and so I have all of his, not all of his books, but I have a good chunk of them. And it takes a summer to read a book for his larger books. But if you could dual it up and have audiobooks as well, then you can always go back to a classic and listen to some of his books, as he has history and he applies it to business facets, and I really like his stuff that he does.
Nice. Yeah, I have to say I share your love of the Libby app and the connected to the Regina Public Library. I think it's a wonderful way to have books in my phone at all times. And I'm recently falling in love with audiobooks. I think they're great. So thanks for highlighting that for our listeners. Um, I'm uh, I'm curious to know too. You've mentioned your connection to Cowas's Ventures. I'm wondering if you'd like to share a little bit more about your work with Cowas's Ventures.
Well, we had one recent announcement as of yesterday in which we announced a 200 megawatt wind project with Enbridge. And so that's been a lot of negotiations in the past 18 months and being involved in that project, and being able to get here to make this formal announcement with the government of Saskatchewan yesterday. We are at the tail end. We're looking to our other 200 megawatt wind project near Kipling is going to be done construction in November. So we're very excited about that. So we have our 10 megawatt solar project east of the city, as well as our wind turbine site there. And so we're heavily involved in renewables, and that's just projects that we can announce right now. We're looking forward to a few other major announcements. So we also have various land holdings throughout the province of Saskatchewan. Um, a lot of good work has been done by previous leadership and previous administrators and technicians. And so just trying to continue a lot of the momentum that was put forth, and making sure that I'm fulfilling what the board is looking for right now. And so we have our two gas stations. So we have two Esso gas stations. We have various projects, land renewables, and as well as partnerships of large and small scale. And so we're looking forward to have two other major announcements before end of the summer, and hopefully those come to fruition.
Well, allow me to be among the first, or at least, in the first 24 hours or so, to congratulate you on the new wind project. That's wonderful news. So glad that you're able to share that with all of us today. Yeah, big congratulations there. There'll be just another moment if there's another question that wants to come in the chat. Otherwise, I'll ask you a question in before we close today. I'm curious to know what other advice you might give to those like you who are entrepreneurs and business leaders, and perhaps connected in some ways to learning and learning throughout a life and career, but just sort of recognizing your experience as an entrepreneur and as a leader in our community. What other advice would you have?
Say start with your why. Start with what is your reason, and making sure that you are playing to your advantages and not trying to fight an uphill battle. What are your strengths? Identify what you can contribute, what do you have to offer, but really start with your why, and how do you build on whatever type of momentum that was gained thus far, and then being able to put yourself in a position to not only serve your own interests, but how do you help others along the way? And that's been my guiding principle: is how do I help others. And so, it started off on, I'm very connected with my community. I'm connected to a lot of um, my family members that are a lot older, and I always started off on trying to making sure that I was doing right by them and trying to make them proud and make my ancestors proud. And now I'm kind of at this point in my life where I'm start thinking long term, and I'm just thinking, well, it's not necessarily about making them proud. It's more now it's making my descendants proud, making my daughter proud. And with yesterday's announcement, I had a reflection of that on being able to be there. Is that these are long-term projects that are going to benefit communities. And this is, these are long-term seeds that are planted. And I hope that, I can inspire people like my daughter, inspire other youth to go into entrepreneurship and plant those long-term seeds and be able to contribute that way, not just about myself gaining, but as well as the communities around me, whether that be the city of Regina, residents, people of Cowessess First Nation, and people of my own community of George Gordon First Nation. So, and that'd be my advice, is just to make sure that you understand what you're good at, what you're not good at, and start to know what is your reason for getting into it, and really have a good self-awareness of who you are as an individual.
Yeah, I really love that, Jake. Just thinking about, and thinking about that, the next generation too, because we never really know. And this is something that happens for teachers and people who, professors in classrooms. We never really know the difference we're going to make fully. And so we need to do that work in ways where we trust that. And starting with a why, as you've described, and understanding your own strengths is something that's so key, I think, in being able to do that in good ways. I'll just, before I thank everyone, I just want to read this comment from Chris in the chat with everyone. It says, Jake, congratulations on the 200 megawatt wind project with Enbridge. Oh, this is a question as well. It's a good thing I'm taking the time to read this out loud. So this will be our last question for today. What's been the keys to your successes so far in your term as CEO of Cowessess Developments? And then Chris adds your why and strengths, your principles. I love what you're sharing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris. We'll have to grab coffee here very soon. My keys to my success, well, when you have almost 5,000 people behind you as your shareholders, that packs a big punch. And so I think that's the key to a lot of the Indigenous economic developments out there. And I think Cowessess is the biggest, I'm very fortunate to be part of some nations here, as Cowessess is the biggest nation in Treaty 4. And I'm from George Gordon, the second largest nation in Treaty 4. And so my success, I guess, is the friendships that I've gained along the way, and a lot of the people that I've met throughout my career, and being able to take what I've applied and try to have positive change. And so that's been my key to success, I think, is those soft skills. And I think a lot of that is I've gained that at the University of Regina and the Center of Continuing Education, on being able to apply that. It's not a one shoe fits all approach, and everything is unique. And like I said, I think I attribute a lot of that from a lot of the learning that I learned at the University of Regina and the Center of Continuing Education.
Thanks, Jake. Thanks so much for that reflection. And I also want to thank everyone who's with us on Zoom today for joining us and contributing to the conversation through questions and comments in the chat. And Jake, again, thank you for sharing your story and your time today. I'm confident that someone will see this, and or someone who is here listening in today will be inspired by this story. Your story is really, really inspiring. I'll just say a few more things as reminders. So for everyone, a video recording of today's Alumni Effect will be posted soon on the alumni section of the U of R website. Link to our website can be found in the chat, and that will be showing up for you in just a moment. And of course, again, feel free to share that with your family and friends. And don't forget to check out the University of Regina website and our alumni social media channels for more information about upcoming events in this series and more. Our next Alumni Effect speaker will be in September 2024, as we will take a break over the summer. And until then, take care, everyone, and thank you for tuning in. And once again, thank you so much, Jake, for sharing your wisdom and your stories today.
Thank you very much for having me. And Bo, thanks you too.
And thanks for inviting Bo along as well.